me. Everything I did was sequenced at home, the entire song, and I just took it to the studio. I pushed a button and all the keyboards played. I mean, I couldn't imagine, because we didn't have record deals. We, not like they had in England and New York and LA. We had like songs. And we had to pay for the studio times ourselves, right? So like, no, we weren't going there to like figure it out. We had to have everything prepared and ready to go. Push one button, everything's recorded in an hour. But all the work was done at home. But like, oh,
do you know any session musicians on things like Move?
Yeah, I got session musicians later. Later on, we got the whole Chicago Symphony Orchestra in there. But that was like really overkill. But like in the beginning, I had to have everything programmed.
Sister Bliss, are you software based predominantly now?
I do now. Faithless, as you probably know, was a live band as well.
Yeah.
We're an 8-piece live band. We went out to play live, and so Roland gear was a total mainstay of the live setup. And I couldn't take all the analog gear on the road because it was slightly unreliable. But on our, some of our biggest hit records like Salvamere or Insomnia, like there's Juno 106s all over it, 909s all over it. The real ones that we work with in the studio. And then on the road, I took JP8000, which was a really great, had just such a warmth and width to it, but it was a little bit more reliable than the Juno 106s that we had. And also updated on the last tour to a V-Synth, which had this very cool function. It has a sort of laser beam pad where you can warp a sound with the power of your hand, which was kind of a good look if I was, trying to be a bit dramatic on stage, but you could have, program a filter and use your hand to change the sound. So for live, it was a massive maze. And in the studio, I mean, the riff sound from Insomnia that was much copied across the world was actually out of a JD800. There's a lot of cross-pollination that came together in Faithless. But yeah, couldn't have done it without Roland.
What about you, Adam? I mean, you software based predominantly now? Or?
Yeah, but I'm the proud owner of a System 100. And I was living in Italy, and I had loads of gear that I'd already moved from London to Italy and never used any of it, like Akai samplers and just things that just didn't really need. And I went to sell it all at this shop, and I saw this System 100, so I swapped all this old gear, like tons of stuff, for this System 100. And I think my girlfriend at the time thought I was going to come back with all this money, and I came back with this dusty old, like archaic looking synthesizer, and it was, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I was like, no, you don't understand. And she didn't understand. And,
does she now?
No.
It was the beginning of the end.
Yeah, it was. She left me years ago. But I mean, I love that synth. I love sitting at the kitchen table with shitty little speakers that cost £13, and I love working on the train.
A lot of it, when I made it, my mind was in outer space.
The secret's out now. When we first heard of 303 tweaking away, it was, and we'd grown up with a background of electro pop like Human League and Kraftwerk, and it wasn't an alien sound in the UK to hear synths and drum machines on records and programming and Marauder and stuff.
But like that it was.
Like that, exactly. It was so raw.
Do you think?
And
I was going to say,
and
do you think that was because at the time, there was kind of big productions, maybe even overproduction, overproducing in the big pop tracks? Do you think it was that as well, that kind of rawness that maybe?
No, there was genre change in songs and stuff. When you have that, it doesn't matter what's out there. It's some songs that come out that change everything, and You know, if you put your heart and your soul into it, you know, you could feel it. You know, you could feel the spirituality like lifting on some song coming out of some songs. You know, when you would listen to them. Yeah.
I suppose that's probably one of the things that's really good with these types of devices, because you had a lot of knobs and buttons that you could play with, and I think that's one of the things that's changing nowadays with people producing music on computers. It's great to see a lot of tactile interfaces being used, but we don't write music using a mouse or anything, so it's good to feel these things. And you were talking about putting your heart and your soul in it, because it's an instrument after all.
You can't put your heart and your soul into a mouse a lot of times.
No, you can't. It's very hard.
You know, you need the knobs. You need to be in control.
Because you can be anywhere where you want to be, you sort of can. I go into my own world and with my mouse and go on adventures with my mouse.
There's something about not being a trained musician that can actually give you the bigger picture somehow and leave your intuition more open. And I think hands-on, if you say legacy gear or hardware, can just totally take the session in a different direction than just working on a computer, because it's creating a vibe, and it's, you know.
So what are your thoughts on the new Ira range that you've been seeing tonight then?
Well, the first thing is, I always say, is ease of use. You know, if I can get to point A where I'm feeling the music, and if my mind can leave my body, then I'm straight. You know, that's the thing. Now, all the other technical stuff is okay, but you know, like I said, my mind has to leave my body when I'm messing with it and stuff, and you know, I'd have to see that at home in the middle of the night, and you know, but it's got the knobs. I just have to feel like the sounds coming out following what I'm trying to put into it.
So I've got a question from someone online here. It's from Terry Marsden, and actually no, it's the Stuart Hobbins. He's asking, what's everybody's favourite piece of Roland kit then? What was your favourite? You mentioned earlier on that you really liked
Roland JX8P.
The 8P, JX8P.
Roland JX8P, because you know, I did a lot of fiddling with it, with the sounds and stuff, and it's just a beautiful machine. It's art. It's a work of art, that keyboard. But everybody has a favorite keyboard, you know, that they can, you know, that they like totally like get into, and it does what they want. It's like one of their arms. You know, everybody has that you know, that piece. I'm pretty sure.
You also mentioned it was the 707 was the drum machine.
The 707, the 707 drum machine. I had both of those, the 909s and 808s. I really liked the 808s, but like the 808 stuff that I would do, nobody wanted because it was down tempo, you know, mid tempo, and everybody wanted me to keep doing house, right? And I had some mean stuff, man. Ooh, I had some mean stuff. Took me to another place. Oh man. With the 808s, you know, but I couldn't carry that over to house tempo, right? But like when I get on the 808, I would groove and stuff. 909 for the foot, but 707s for everything else. It's just, you know, it was just my preferred machine. I liked it a lot.
What tracks were the 707 on?
Move Your Body was 707. All the 10 City stuff was 707. Acid Tracks was 707. I've Lost Control was 808.
What was Energy, the sound from that?
That was all my sounds. I mean, all my drums were 909, and all my sounds, musical sounds, were Ensonic.
What was that? The ES was
SQ80.
SQ80.
And then my 909s I had one and I had one backup, you know, because I was touring, and I got my studio robbed. I think it was Christmas Day '92, and I record hours and hours of analog stuff, and then just chop it all up.
Snippets of it, yeah.
A lot of the Roland keyboards had that defective tuning, right? And I know because like later on when I got to work with like the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, the whole orchestra had to tune themselves to my keyboard because it was it would fall out of tune sometimes, you know, and they had to play along with it and stuff. They were like, I said, oh well, sorry.
Well, that's part of it too, because now everything's so Pro Tools perfect. It's just like perfect, like.
But that semitone off made a difference, man. A lot of times.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, that LCD sound system track, that Sound of Silver, and it's just got this real melancholy thing because the main synth riff is just out of tune with everything else. It just gives it this beautiful vibe, really mournful.
But I like the fact that it would be on. It would be the tuning would move on my Roland keyboards, right? And I would set it like, okay, that's 440 right there. And then the next day I come back, it's 442. I was like, what the hell happened here? You know, but I felt that it had a personality, you know, it was messing with me, you know. But I like that, right? I know it sounds stupid, but, you know, I thought, wow.
Did Faithless ever use, like, in a lot of the tracks, the 909s or the 808s for the drums, yeah?
Yeah. All of the, pretty much, all the big ones that you've heard, yeah. Because we had a 909 running live in the studio. I had an 808, but that got nicked. Right. That was shared with a friend, but we would spend hours. Like, yeah, but
this is London.
It's London. There was always studios getting robbed.
I got robbed 4 times. I mean, when I get robbed, you know, it's when I'm out on the road. They don't just take like a keyboard; they take everything. They even take the carpets, man. You know, they take everything. But like, man, I'm all software now. I'm tired of getting robbed. I bring my computer with me.
Unless they rob your computer.
Yeah. But you know, I really like the keyboards and stuff.
Yeah. Would you guys use any? Because I know, obviously, with the built-in drum machines and software, you can get 909, 808 samples. Would you be? I mean, because Adam, you're software based. Would you use some of the samples for the Roland range, or would you?
I don't have any particular formula, so I'm always open to anything, really. But so I don't know. I don't.
What are you using for your new drums and your 3-step stuff?
I just chop up loads of samples, really. I had one of those German things of Vermona, which hasn't got a sequencer, just for analog sounds.
Yeah.
And I'm not that bothered about twiddling around on knobs either. I just like find nice drum sounds and use them.
So what was talking about your 3-step thing? Because this is quite a big sort of change for you in your sort of musical career at the moment. Yeah. What kind of gave you the idea to go down that route and think, I've had enough of 4/4, I'm just going to go on 3/4? What was it that made you think, yeah, I'm just going to do this?
Venezuelan folk music.
Excellent.
Because I spend a lot of time in Venezuela and they just playing the indigenous folk musics in 3/4. And but the way they play it, it's not like you know, pompous sort of European umpa. It's like you know, they've got that Latin, sexy sort of like really nice bass lines, basically. So I just started trying to emulate that, but using, you know, contemporary sounds, modern software, and just got totally obsessed with it.
Well done. You unformatted yourself. No, that's hard to do now.
Sometimes I wake up in the morning with a melody in my head and work it out on the piano. Other times I'm just playing around with sounds and something falls. But I have that boundary in my head. You have to be able to waltz to it, which basically means just spinning. Walzer is the German verb for spinning, turning. So, I mean, ideally, after watching 25 years of people all dancing on their own, I'd like to see everyone sort of dancing around in couples.
Hugging each other again, maybe.
In Chicago, we had like I said, slow records every night, and guys would pick up the girls and like next thing you know, hands on butts.
So what's your favourite piece of Roland hardware then? What was it over the years? The JD800?
I think the 106 actually.
My
first actual keyboard was the Juno 2, which had some really nice round boingy sounds on there. But the 106s was just so textural, but they were also brilliant for bass lines as well.
Great for that,
and the noise filters on them made it a bit dirty but wide.
That chorus
There's something
was
so
amazing.
wide on it, yeah.
Yeah, that original chorus. Used a lot as well for pad sounds. Beautiful pads.
We had all sort of literally running off part after part, and all the first 2 albums were all on tape because we were sequencing with an Atari, and so we just literally play stuff and then, change the sound a bit and then record it again, just overdubbing and overdubbing, because before the days of Logic and audio. So, just sort of, I think it gave our sound something that wasn't too clean, but also had this kind of acidy, filtery stuff going on in it as well.
You mentioned tape as well. A lot of people these days, a lot of youngsters now haven't got an idea of what tape actually is.
2-inch tape.
Exactly. It's quite funny
tricks
because
of the
sometimes we
trade.
do A/B tests in here against Pro Tools and tape, and everybody's keen to understand what tape sounds like. And you've got a
It's got
multitude
natural
of
distortion in
Exactly,
it,
and
and it brings a warmth.
a lot of people are not used to that. If they've not experienced it, they're, what's tape sound like? Oh, well, it's really noisy and it's really hissy, but essentially, that was
It
that
has a
gave things the
Sounds
character.
shit, and that's why we like it.
That's exactly why we liked it.
It's funny, you hear a lot of producers now putting extra sort of fizz and hiss on records almost to make things sound like they've been sampled off vinyl, because it's almost like a kind of shorthand way of accessing that old school warmth.
Exactly.
In a digital
You find
world.
in sample libraries just loops of crackling.
Yeah, exactly. There's loads
I
of
can
people
make my
using
own
that.
crackling.
Yeah,
That's
just
one thing
switch
I
on the
can do.
System 100.
I'm not gonna tear my hair out trying to get warmth. I'm gonna go for the song first and, figure it out later. But it's useless right now at this point. I mean, it may come in a few years, but I've seen dozens of close approximations, and I'm not really impressed with it that much. But it's a different sound, it's a very clean. It's much cleaner. You don't get the hiss, but I find that if you use a lot of of analog keyboards, you can get it good enough.
It is a different generation now, though. Definitely, iPhones and stuff are so intuitive. My kid just already understands how to work. It's not like he's been given a lesson. It's become a very computer literate generation.
Exactly. I suppose that's one of the great things now, though. We have got things that are much more tighter on synchronisation, because even when we were playing about while we were waiting to get the audio sorted, you're changing some patterns on the 303 and then you lose sync ever so slightly, and then you're having to stop and start to get that clock to start happening and that again. So it is quite difficult. But one of the things I think is really, really good about these machines is each one of the sequencers has its own natural sort of feel to it. So it isn't rigid and it isn't sample accurate. And I think that's one of the things I feel personally in dance music today is things can be a little bit too sanitized because we're trying to make things line up on the grid too much. And there was this certain looseness back there
The drift.
that sounded good, the drift. And also when you think about it,
It's totally different timing from the 909s and stuff, and you play them together a lot,
It's the same when you're putting a mix together. When you're mixing inside the box, we've got all these different plugins and different sounds, and yes, you can get them to sit in the mix, but sometimes with some of these plugins, you have to work quite hard to get that element of depth. And one of the great things about using different sounding devices even with digital synths, because the outputs on them had their own character. I always remember using a piano off the JV 1080. It's fantastically wide, beautiful, it just commanded the mix. But then you're using a similar type of piano sample on a plugin like Nexus or something like that, and it's just not quite there. You feel it's like it's on a wall. You don't have that element of depth. So I think a lot of the character does come from the actual sound of hardware.
Yeah. JV 1080 was a big mainstay on a lot of our records as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask each of you which is the one dance track you wish you'd made.
Killer.
The Blue Danube.
I don't know. There's so many. Alison Limerick, Where Love Lives.
Charles B. Yeah, Lack of Love. That's probably my favourite 303 record. I've never had a 303 or used one on the record.
Okay guys, thanks very much for tonight. It's been a bit of a bumpy ride. We've had lots of different things happen to us this evening, but we kind of got there in the end. And thanks for everybody coming along and joining us tonight. And I don't know about you, but I'm going straight to the pub. Thanks very much guys. Cheers.